next movie on the docket is part of our movie club as we are going through and watching all of the DC animated movie universe films is Teen Titans the Judas Contract from 2017, directed by Sam Liu and based on the Judas Contract storyline from Mark Wolfman and George Perez. This movie is a sequel to, well, kind of. It's kind of it is a direct sequel to Justice League vs. Teen Titans, as in the mid-credits teaser of that film, we saw Tara making her first appearance there, and she would become not a focal point, but probably the focal point of this movie. Now, when it comes to this film, I gotta tell you, man, I don't know if it's my favorite one that we've watched so far, but look, let me just break it down like this. There's been a lot of good DCAMU movies we talked about in the past. There have been some that have not been that good. I was personally not a fan of Justice League Dark, the one that came before this one. I reviewed it already. Not a big fan of it. Now, the one coming up after this one is gonna be Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay, which I have not seen yet. So, if you're watching the DCAMU movies alongside with me every week or every 2 weeks, that's the next one. So get it queued up and ready to go. But what I wanted to tell you was that I'm not sure if this movie is the best one, but it's definitely in the top 5 for me, maybe even the top 3. And the reason for that is because Teen Titans the Judas Contract explored elements and explored thematic elements and themes that I have not seen yet in a DCAMU movie, and really touched upon things that a lot of other animated films would never even remotely touch. When you're a fan of this stuff, right, a lot of people say that the DC animated universe and the DC animated films blow away Marvel's animated films. Even though Marvel has the MCU live action, most people have always said the DC ones are better, animated wise. And this is a movie you can point to and say, okay, I can see why. This movie right here. Not necessarily because it is the most entertaining movie or has the most flashiness or has the best overall character story, even though it does have a very, very good one. But because of the fact that this film pretty much knocked everything it tried to do out of the park. We have a character arc with Tara, where she's conflicted about what side she's going to go on. We have the story of Slade Wilson coming back thanks to the Lazarus Pit and his involvement in this. And then we have the character of Sebastian Blood, Brother Blood, who was one of the most intriguing villains ever, because they touched upon a lot of things here. They touched upon kind of what Zack Snyder was trying to go for in Batman v Superman. The whole, like, are these gods among us? And this whole story, the whole story between Brother Blood is that he wants to become God. Like, he wants to eventually ascend to the level of being a god. And the fact that they actually use the Teen Titans and other metahumans as kind of examples of these false gods, he wants to become a god himself. To me, it was, and the word God was fluidly used. Like, it wasn't like they were trying to censor anything. It wasn't like they were trying to hold back with this movie. He was, to me, a very, very interesting villain. On top of that, we've also got some of the classic Teen Titans from the past. Like, we've got Dick Grayson. In fact, the opening scene of this film is like a prologue where they go back and show like the old Teen Titans. Beast Boy, Bumblebee. The whole story about how Starfire kind of joined the team, so to speak. And I really like that it was a previous incarnation of the Teen Titans. And now we have Damian Wayne, who, for my money, is still the most interesting character in this movie universe so far. Kind of becoming the new Robin to join the new Teen Titans, but the old Teen Titans are still heavily involved here. I wondered going into this movie, because I had not seen it before, but as I'm watching it, I'm like, will this movie be able to actually entertain me without bringing in the heavy hitters like Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, like no lanterns? Like, this movie doesn't have any of the A-listers. It's really just about the Teen Titans, but yet they were able to tie in all of these different storylines that have been woven throughout the DCAMU. Like, for example, just the fact that we have, just the fact that Deathstroke is back and his whole history with Damian Wayne. Like, you had to have seen the previous DCAMU movies for it to really resonate with you. Especially the scene where Robin is talking directly to Tara, and the whole storyline with Tara where, she comes in, you see her as sort of being like a new member of the team, but she ends up revealing that she actually was affiliated with Deathstroke the entire time. And then by the end of the movie, she once again finds out the true nature of the villains and kind of makes this ultimate sacrifice. She had a character arc. Dick Grayson, albeit not the main character arc, he had a character arc in this movie. Raven had something to do in this movie. Blue Beetle, they all had something to do. Everybody had an important role. Even the whole story with Starfire. Like, you're talking to a guy now who's not really familiar with the Teen Titans that much. I never really read any Teen Titans comics, and when the TV show was on the air, I wasn't watching it, the old Teen Titans show. And yet, this movie made me invested in all their characters. It made me want to learn more about the Titans, and more importantly, it made me want to continue watching the DCAMU to see where their story goes. This was a fantastic movie. I mean, in every sense of the word. This was, again, I don't know if it's the best, but it's easily top 3 of the ones we've seen so far. Not just the story, because the story is the most important thing. The action sequences I thought were fun. The voice acting was great. Stuart Allen, Taissa Farmiga, Miguel Ferrer's in this. Christina Ricci is in this, But, like, the visual effects and the animation I thought were really, really good. And really what struck me was Frederick Weidman did the score for this movie. He's a German composer. And the music in this movie felt like it belonged in like an actual Zack Snyder DCEU film. Like, it was, I don't want to say he's on Hans Zimmer's level, because Hans Zimmer's a very special composer. I don't think he is, because he's a legend. But, like, dude, the soundtrack here was killer throughout the entire movie. I'm having a hard time finding flaws when it comes to this movie. And the last one just didn't connect with me. Meanwhile, this one connected with me on all levels. Just, everyone was written well, in my opinion. I thought that Deathstroke was a grand manipulator. I love that. By the way, it's back to being League of Assassins again. Remember, there was League of Shadows in one of the other movies. It's been a mess when it comes to that. And Tara's storyline was surprising and yet interesting. Damian Wayne, it wasn't just about him, but he was effective. Starfire, Dick Grayson, how he helped out at the end. And the villain, everything worked for me in this movie. This is easily one of the top 3 best DCAMU films that has come out so far. I know some people say that the movie doesn't work because the source material does not really match up, but I've never read the source material, so I'm looking at this from somebody who is unfamiliar with it. But they really integrated very mature plot lines and themes into this, and they made the characters great. And honestly, and it's very well paced too. This was an extremely well made movie, and if you're watching the DCAMU in order, you're going to go through all the movies with me anyways. But if you want to show it to somebody who's not familiar with the Teen Titans, or maybe not, doesn't want to watch all the DCAMU movies, do not skip this one. It might seem like, oh, well, there's no Superman, no Batman. Dude, this is the first movie so far in the DCAMU universe, the shared universe, that did not have any Batman in it. And yet he was not missed. No Batman at all. Robin, Nightwing, sure. Gotham was represented with them, but no Batman whatsoever, even in a cameo. And I really, really like that. Teen Titans Judas Contract was phenomenal. I will see you guys in the next DCAMU review for Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. But I'm telling you right now, this one right here will be hard to beat.